Mr. Omari was overjoyed, and he went all out to pamper her during the pregnancy. "Our child will have everything he or she could ever want," Mr. Omari said one evening as they decorated the nursery. "Sure they will," Amina replied, imagining her child growing up in wealth and comfort. Their baby boy, Jason, was born a healthy and beautiful child. Amina felt a new sense of purpose as a mother, but she couldn't help but notice that Mr. Omari's health was deteriorating rapidly. On Mr. Omari's 85th birthday, he threw a grand party, inviting business associates, friends, and family. Amina stood by his side, glowing in a custom-made gown as they cut the cake together. "You've made this old man very happy, Amina," Mr. Omari said, holding her hand. "And you've made me the happiest woman alive," she replied, smiling sweetly. But later that night, Mr. Omari fell gravely ill. He was rushed to the hospital where doctors informed Amina that his condition was critical. As Mr. Omari lay on the hospital bed, Amina sat by his side trying to hide her excitement. "This is it," she thought. "Everything is about to be mine." She held his hand and whispered, "You'll be fine, Cletus. You're strong." Mr. Omari chuckled weakly. "I'm not afraid of dying, Amina. I've lived a full life. But there's something I need to tell you before it's too late." Amina's heart raced. "What is it?" Mr. Omari's eyes filled with tears. "You've been a wonderful wife, but there's a truth about my wealth that I've kept from you." "It's time you knew." Amina frowned, her excitement giving way to confusion. "What do you mean?" Mr. Omari sighed deeply, struggling to find the words. "When I was 80, I was a poor, desperate man. I had lost everything. My business, my home, my dignity. I was ready to give up. But then I met a man who claimed he could help me turn my life around." Amina leaned in, her confusion growing. "What kind of help?" "He introduced me to a ritual," Mr. Omari continued, his voice barely a whisper. "He promised me wealth beyond my wildest dreams. But there was a price to pay. The wealth would only last 5 years, and at the end of those 5 years, I would die. Not only that, but everything I acquired with the money would vanish." Amina stared at him in shock. "What are you saying, Cletus? Are you telling me that all of this, your money, your businesses, your properties, it's all going to disappear?" "Yes," Mr. Omari said, tears streaming down his face. "The time is almost up, Amina. Once I'm gone, so is everything else." "No!" Amina screamed, standing up. "This can't be true. You're lying." "I wish I were," Mr. Omari said, his voice cracking. "But it's the truth. I wanted to leave you and Jason with something, but I can't. I'm sorry, Amina." Amina's mind raced as she tried to process what she had just heard. The wealth she had built her dreams on was nothing but an illusion, a fleeting gift with an expiration date. "You mean to tell me that I married you, had your child, and gave up everything for nothing?" she shouted, her anger boiling over. "I never meant to hurt you," Mr. Omari said, his voice barely audible. "I thought I could beat the odds, but the ritual was clear. The wealth isn't mine to keep." Amina stormed out of the hospital room, her mind spinning. She couldn't believe her life had come to this. She had sacrificed her friendships, her dignity, and her time for a man who had sold his soul for temporary riches. Over the next few days, Mr. Omari's condition worsened. Amina stayed by his side, but her heart was filled with resentment. She couldn't look at him without feeling betrayed. On the 5th day after his birthday, Mr. Omari passed away peacefully in his sleep. The moment Amina received the news of Mr. Omari's passing, her body turned cold. Her hands trembled as she held the phone to her ear, her breath quickening. Panic set in like a raging storm. This couldn't be happening. No, not yet. She had been waiting for his death, but not like this. Not with all his wealth about to disappear. Amina's mind raced. There had to be a way to stop this. The money couldn't just vanish into thin air. Not after all the luxury she had enjoyed. Not after all she had sacrificed. She quickly grabbed her phone and began dialing the numbers of Waganga, traditional healers, she had met through her past connections. If Mr. Omari's money came from rituals, surely there had to be a way to keep it from vanishing. "Please, Baba, you have to help me," she pleaded over the phone to one of the most powerful healers she knew. "The man is dead, but I need the wealth to remain. What can we do?" A deep sigh came from the other end. "Nothing can be done, my daughter. The The deal was made and the price must be paid. Amina's stomach clenched. She refused to accept it. She called another healer and another. Each one told her the same thing. Nothing could be done. The money, the properties, the businesses, everything Mr. Omari had gained through the ritual was bound to disappear. Still, Amina refused to give up. If the wealth was going to vanish, she would take as much as she could before it did. She hurriedly went to Mr. Omari's properties, hoping to sell some before they could disappear. She contacted buyers, eager to close deals fast. But just when she thought she had secured some wealth for herself, she discovered that she had been scammed. The money never reached her accounts. The buyers had vanished. No, 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 she screamed, throwing her phone across the room. Her heart pounded with fear. But the worst was yet to come. Days later, one of Mr. Omari's companies caught fire. The news spread quickly. His empire was burning to the ground. Amina watched in shock as the images flashed on the television screen. Flames consumed the massive headquarters of Mr. Omari's most profitable business. The employees scrambled in panic. Fire trucks surrounded the building and smoke covered the sky. "This is not happening," she whispered, gripping her chest. But it was. The ritual's consequences had begun. Everything was disappearing before her eyes. With no way to save the businesses, Amina turned to what she thought was her last hope, the jewelry. Mr. Omari had given her gold and diamond necklaces, bracelets, and earrings worth millions. If she could sell them, she would still have something left. She rushed home, her heart racing. But as soon as she arrived at the mansion, she knew something was wrong. Police officers were standing outside. Her breath caught in her throat. Hesti ebbed out of the car, her legs shaking. "Officer, what's going on?" One of the officers turned to her with a serious expression. "Mrs. Omari, I'm afraid we have bad news. Your house was broken into last night. Everything of value has been stolen." Amina's knees gave way and she collapsed onto the ground. No, 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 no. Her jewelry, her last hope, was gone. Tears streamed down her face. She was finished. Everything was gone. Everything. With no other option, Amina packed a small bag, took her son, and walked away from the mansion she once ruled. She had nowhere to go, no money, no home, no friends. Her only option, Zuri. As she arrived at Zuri's small apartment, she hesitated at the door. What if Zuri turned her away? What if she slammed the door in her face? Taking a deep breath, Amina knocked. When Zuri opened the door and saw her, she gasped. Her mouth fell open as she took in Amina's appearance. Her once glamorous hair was messy. Her expensive clothes were replaced with a simple gown and her eyes were swollen from crying. Zuri's lips parted in shock. "Amina!" Amina collapsed to her knees, clutching Zuri's legs as tears streamed down her face. Her once proud and confident voice was now trembling with desperation. "Zuri, please. I have nowhere else to go," she sobbed, her grip tightening. "I know I've done terrible things. I know I hurt you, but please just give me a second chance." Zuri folded her arms, staring down at her with a mixture of shock and coldness. The sight of Amina, the same Amina who once mocked her for living a simple life, who abandoned her for a life of wealth, now begging at her feet, was almost unbelievable. "You brought this upon yourself," Zuri said flatly, stepping back, forcing Amina's hands to slip from her legs. "I warned you, didn't I? I told you that your greed would destroy you, but you refused to listen. Now look at you." Amina sniffled, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. "Zuri, I know I was blind. I know I was selfish. I thought I had it all figured out, but I was wrong. Please, I just need a place to stay. Just for a while." Zuri scoffed. "And why should I help you? Where was your sympathy when you abandoned me for money? When you lied to me and stole that man's number behind my back? You didn't care about me then, Amina. So why should I care now?" Amina sobbed harder, her shoulders shaking. "I have a child, Zuri. I can't let Jason suffer because of my mistakes. He's innocent in all of this." She turned to look at her son, who was clinging to her dress, his small, confused eyes darting between the two women. Zuri's gaze softened slightly as she looked at Jason. The little boy had done nothing wrong. He was just a child. But still, the pain Amina had caused her was too fresh, too deep. Amina grabbed her hands desperately. I know, Zuri. I know, and I'll do anything to make it right. Just give me a chance to prove it to you. I'll change. I promise. Please don't turn me away. Zuri let out a deep sigh. Her heart was at war with itself. She wanted to walk away, to leave Amina to face the consequences of her choices alone. But then she looked at Jason again. The child was clutching his mother's dress, his tiny face full of innocence and confusion. With another heavy sigh, Zuri finally spoke. Amina's eyes widened in surprise. What? Sawa, Zuri said. Fine, Zuri repeated, her voice slightly irritated. But don't think this means I've forgiven you. I'm only doing this because of Jason. He's just a child. He shouldn't have to suffer for your mistakes. Amina broke down again, this time in gratitude. Thank you, Zuri. Thank you so much. Zuri stepped aside and gestured toward the small apartment. Come in. But don't get too comfortable. This isn't your palace, Amina. If you stay here, you follow my rules. Amina nodded quickly. Of course, Zuri. I'll do anything. Thank you. She gathered Jason in her arms and stepped into the apartment, her heart heavy with both relief and shame. She had lost everything, but at least she had one last chance, and she wasn't going to waste it. As Amina settled into Zuri's small apartment, she noticed how different her friend had become. There were no flashy wigs, no tight dresses, no loud music playing in the background. Instead, Zuri sat at a small desk, her laptop open, wearing a simple t-shirt and joggers. Amina watched in confusion. Zuri, what's going on? Where's the old you? Zuri sighed, shutting her laptop. Amina, I've changed. I'm no longer into clubbing, runs, or chasing rich men. I decided to take my life seriously. Amina frowned. What do you mean? Zuri leaned back in her chair. I realized that life isn't about fast money. I was tired of living recklessly, tired of depending on men who only saw me as an object. So, I took control of my future. I learned tech skills and now I work as a remote customer service representative. Amina blinked in surprise. Tech? You? Zuri chuckled. Yes, me. And guess what? It pays well. I work from home. I make good money. And I don't have to worry about my life falling apart overnight. She looked at Amina seriously. Amina, you need to leave your past life behind. You've seen where it led you. It's time to start over. Amina lowered her gaze, feeling ashamed. Could she really change? Could she let go of the only life she had ever known? Zuri placed a hand on her shoulder. I'll help you, Amina, but you have to be willing to change. Amina swallowed hard, nodding slowly. Maybe, just maybe. This was her second chance. With Zuri's support, Amina began to rebuild her life. She took on odd jobs, learned new skills, and slowly started piecing herself back together. The road was long and difficult, but she learned valuable lessons about humility, hard work, and the true meaning of wealth. Amina was slowly adjusting to her new life. Living with Zuri had brought a sense of peace and stability she hadn't known in a long time. Zuri, now a remote customer service representative, worked from the comfort of their modest apartment, while Amina had managed to get a job at Mlamani City Mall as a cashier. It wasn't glamorous, but it was something. Every morning, Amina would wake up early, bathe and dress her son Jason, and drop him off at daycare before heading to the mall. In the evening, she'd pick him up and head home where Zuri would usually be typing away on her laptop or preparing dinner. It was a simple life. Not the one she had dreamed of, but it was peaceful. She even found herself smiling more these days. One Sunday afternoon, after a long week of work, Amina sat on the couch with a bowl of ice cream beside her. Jason had just fallen asleep and she wanted to steal a few minutes of rest before helping Zuri with dinner. She unlocked her phone and opened Instagram. As she scrolled, her eyes sparkled at the glossy pictures of big girls, flaunting designer clothes, luxury vacations, private jets, and expensive meals in high-end restaurants. Wow, Sawa lifestyle, she whispered to herself, double-tapping one picture of a girl taking mirror selfies in Dubai. Zuri, who had just shut her laptop after a virtual customer call, glanced up. What are you looking at? These girls, Zuri, see how they're enjoying, Amina said, tilting her screen for Zuri to see. See how they go to Maldives, Bali, London, back to back. Look at this one. She's carrying the latest bag. Zuri, we used to live like this, remember? Zuri wiped her palms on her shorts and looked at Amina carefully. Amina, you shouldn't be watching things like that. It will corrupt your mindset again. But what's wrong in admiring beautiful things? Amina replied defensively. I'm not saying I want to go back to the old me. I'm just saying these girls are really enjoying. Zuri took a deep breath. Focus on your new life, Amina. You're working hard. You have Jason to care for. Build something that will last for him. That lifestyle you're admiring doesn't come free, and you know it. Amina stayed quiet, her eyes still glued to her phone. She nodded slowly, but deep down a part of her stirred. The part that craved soft life, the expensive perfumes, the snapping of fingers to call chauffeurs, and the clinking of wine glasses in five-star restaurants. The next day was a Monday. Amina went about her usual routine. She dropped Jason off at daycare and headed to the mall. She wore her uniform, tied her hair back neatly, and stood behind the counter, smiling at customers as they paid for their groceries and clothes. Around 2 p.m., a woman approached her counter to pay for some handbags. As Amina scanned the items, the woman looked up from her phone and froze. Her eyes widened and then a smirk curled on her lips. Wait, Amina. Amina Omari? The woman asked loudly. Amina's heart dropped. She knew that voice. Her fingers trembled slightly, but she tried to act normal. No, I think you're mistaking me for someone else, she said, trying not to make eye contact. The woman laughed. Ha, no deny. Are you not the Amina that married that billionaire old man, Mr. Omari? The one that used to drive a Porsche, the one that insulted me in that boutique at Masaki when I asked you for help? Several heads turned toward them. Amina felt exposed. The woman continued, clapping dramatically. So, this is where you've ended up, from mansion to mall counter. Life is funny. Oh. Amina quickly pressed a few buttons and completed the transaction. Your total is 35,800 shillings, she said in a shaky voice. The woman laughed even louder. Please keep the change, cashier madam, she said, dropping a bunch of shilling notes on the counter with a sarcastic wink. Use it to buy yourself small dignity. Amina couldn't take it anymore. As soon as the woman left, she rushed to the restroom and locked herself in one of the stalls. She leaned against the door and burst into tears. Her chest ached, not just from embarrassment, but from a bitter sense of reality. She remembered the same mall where she once came to shop for millions without looking at price tags. Now she stood behind the counter in a cheap uniform, getting mocked by women she once looked down on. After crying for a while, she wiped her tears and stared at her reflection in the small mirror above the sink. No, I can't do this anymore, she whispered. I've tried being good. I've tried being humble. But maybe I just fell into the wrong hands before. This time, I'll be smarter. Careful, sharp. That evening, she returned home as usual, picked up Jason from daycare, and prepared dinner with Zuri. But something had changed in her. She had made a decision, and she was going to keep it to herself. The next day, Amina dressed up like always and took Jason to daycare. But instead of heading to the mall, she boarded a bus straight to a popular club on the island. She arrived at the club entrance around 11 a.m. It wasn't fully open yet, but some VIP rooms were accessible for special guests. Amina knew the game. She walked up to the bouncer confidently and smiled. Tell James I'm here, she said. The bouncer looked her up and down, nodded, and let her in. From that day on, Amina began her double life again. Every morning, after dropping her son off, she would dress in flashy clothes, wear makeup, and head to lounges, clubs, and hotel lobbies, where she believed wealthy men hung out during the day. She would sit in the VIP sections, pretending to sip expensive cocktails while scanning the room for potential catches. She made herself available, laughing loudly, smiling seductively, and sometimes pretending to be on important calls. But the first week was a complete failure. Most of the men who approached her were broke or just wanted company without giving anything in return. Some were even rude. She came home tired and discouraged, pretending she had just come back from work. Zuri never suspected anything yet. But Amina wasn't ready to give up. Deep in her heart, she believed that her breakthrough was around the corner. All she needed was one rich man. Just one. And her life would change again. She would do it right this time. No emotional attachment, no marriage, just benefits. But fate, as always, had its own plans. It was a quiet Wednesday afternoon. The VIP section of the club was half empty, the usual slow hours before the evening crowd arrived. Amina sat by the tinted glass window with a wine glass in her hand, pretending to sip slowly while scrolling through her phone. Her legs were crossed elegantly. Her makeup was flawless, and she wore a fitted dress that hugged her curves in all the right places. She had been there for hours, waiting and hoping. Then it happened. A tall, rich-looking man in his late 30s walked in. His presence was commanding. He wore a tailored suit, dark sunglasses, and a designer wristwatch that glittered even in the dim lighting. He looked around briefly before his eyes met hers. A small confident smile played on his lips as he walked toward her. "May I join you?" he asked, and Amina smiled, her heart skipping. "Of course." He sat down and waved a waiter over. "Order whatever you want," he told her. She smiled again and picked her favorite cocktail. The man ordered whiskey for himself. They talked for a while. He introduced himself as Raymond Mwinyi. His accent hinted he had spent time abroad. They talked about life, travels, fashion, and a bit of business. He didn't ask too many personal questions, and that suited Amina perfectly. "I like you, Amina," he said suddenly, sipping from his glass. "You're different. Interesting. I'd love to spend more time with you." Amina smiled again, butterflies dancing in her stomach. "I'd like that too," she said. Raymond offered to take her to his hotel, and she didn't hesitate. On their way to the car, she quickly texted Zuri. "Hey sis, please help me pick Jason at daycare today. I'll be coming home late." "Thanks." As Raymond drove, soft music played in the background. Amina stared out the window, smiling. This was what she had been waiting for. Finally, a man with money, taste, and manners. She silently thanked the heavens. They arrived at a high-end hotel. The staff greeted Raymond with respect and escorted them to a luxurious suite on the top floor. Inside, the room was like something out of a movie. Plush furniture, a city view from the balcony, and a mini bar stocked with the finest liquor. Raymond ordered room service. Grilled seafood, pulao rice with peppered chicken, small chops, and a chilled bottle of red wine. They ate, talked more, and laughed like old friends. He treated her like a queen. No rush, no pressure, just comfort and care. That night, they were intimate. And the next morning, Raymond handed her an envelope filled with crisp shilling notes. "Take this, baby. Get something nice for yourself. My driver will drop you off." Amina was stunned. She had never been treated so generously without even asking. "Thank you," she whispered, trying not to look too excited. As the driver dropped her off near the apartment, she counted the money again. It was more than what she would have earned in 6 months at the mall. When she walked into the house, Zuri was already waiting. Her arms were crossed and her expression stern. "Where have you been?" she asked. "I told you I wouldn't come home yesterday," Amina replied casually, tossing her bag on the couch. "Yes, but you didn't say anything about staying overnight. And what's this smell?" "Expensive perfume and hotel shampoo." Amina smiled. "I met someone." Zuri raised a brow. "Someone?" "Yes, Zuri. A boyfriend." "It's not runs if you have feelings for the person," Amina said defensively. Zuri folded her arms. "Who is he? What does he do?" "I don't know exactly," Amina replied, walking toward the kitchen. "But he's very rich and he's good to me." Zuri followed her. "That's not enough. You need to be careful, Amina. Rich doesn't mean good. You've made mistakes before. Don't rush into another one." Amina poured herself a glass of juice and leaned on the counter. "Zuri, I'm not stupid. I know what I'm doing this time. Raymond is different. He didn't force me to do anything. He treated me with respect. He gave me money, yes, but not like the old ones. This one, he's calm, mature." Zuri sighed. "Still be careful. You have Jason now. Your life is not just yours anymore." "I know," Amina said softly. "That's why I want to give him the best." Zuri didn't argue further. She just turned and went back to her laptop. But a deep concern settled in her heart. Over the next few weeks, Amina's routine changed drastically. She no longer bothered going to fake her job at the mall. Every morning after dropping Jason off, she would head off to meet Raymond, or so she said. Sometimes he would send a car to pick her. Other times she would take a cab to wherever he was. She began spending 2 or 3 days away from home at a stretch. Each time she returned, she brought expensive gifts, perfumes, clothes, jewelry, and always a lot of cash. The fridge was constantly stocked. Zuri never had to ask for money. And even Jason's daycare fees were paid for 6 months in advance. Amina was glowing. Her skin was fresher, her wardrobe richer, and her laughter louder. Zuri watched quietly. One Saturday, Amina returned home wearing gold earrings and a new designer handbag. She dropped a box of pizza on the table and handed Zuri an envelope. "Here for the house. You've been amazing to me." Zuri took it reluctantly. "Where have you been since Wednesday?" "Raymond. He took me to a beach resort," Amina replied, opening her phone to show pictures of her sipping coconut drink by the water. Zuri nodded slowly. "You really like him, don't you?" Amina smiled. "I do. I think this is it, Zuri. Finally, maybe God has remembered me." Zuri said nothing. She just looked at her friend, beautiful, bold, and dangerously hopeful. She knew too well that not all that glittered was gold, and deep inside, she feared that Amina was walking straight into another storm. Only this time, it might not be so easy to escape. Amina's relationship with Raymond was like a dream come true. Lavish dinners, exotic perfumes, crisp shilling bundles, surprise getaways, and designer clothes became her new normal. He showered her with affection and never let her lift a finger. Each time she looked at her reflection in the mirror, she smiled to herself, proud that she had risen again. But beneath the surface, Zuri's warnings echoed in her mind like distant thunder. Each time she saw the uncertainty in Zuri's eyes, she brushed it off. "Raymond is different," she would tell herself. "This one is my destiny helper." One afternoon, as they lounged in the hotel suite, Raymond turned to her with a serious expression. "Baby, I want to introduce you to something big," he said, lighting a cigar. Amina looked up, curious. "What is it?" "A business that will make you very rich," he said confidently. "Something big, but very secret. Only a few trusted people are involved." Amina's heart raced with excitement. "What kind of business?" she asked, leaning in. Raymond smiled. "I can't tell you all the details now, but trust me, you'll thank me for this. I'll guide you. All you need to do is follow my instructions carefully." Amina nodded eagerly. "I'm ready." "Good," he said. "We're going to Dubai next week. That's where your first deal will happen. After that, you'll be settled for life." Dubai. Amina beamed. She had always dreamed of going there. The night before their flight, they were in Raymond's hotel room packing their luggage. Then, he pulled out a small black bag and opened it. Inside were several bundles tightly wrapped in plastic. A white powdery substance was visible through the wrap. Amina's smile faded. "What's that?" Raymond's expression remained calm. "Don't worry about the details, baby. Just put a few of these in your makeup bag and carry it with you. Once we land in Dubai and deliver them, you'll get 100 million shillings. Amina froze. Is that, what? Sure, he said, placing a finger on her lips. Don't ask too many questions. This is how big people make money. You trust me, right? Amina was torn. Her instinct screamed, no. But the thought of 100 million shillings clouded her judgment. She pictured herself in a luxury apartment, owning a car, enrolling Jason in the best schools, and finally living like the women she stalked on Instagram. I trust you, she said quietly. They packed everything and got ready. The next morning, Amina wore her finest travel outfit and dropped Jason at daycare earlier than usual. She kissed him on the forehead, promising to bring him gifts when she returned. At Julius Nyerere International Airport, everything seemed smooth. Their tickets were first class. The attendants greeted them politely. Raymond handed over their bags to be checked in, but made sure Amina's name was written on all the tags. As they stood in line for final boarding, Amina turned to smile at Raymond, but he was no longer behind her. She looked around, confused. That was the moment two airport security officers walked up to her. Miss, please step aside. We need to check your luggage, one of them said firmly. Amina's heart skipped.
Why?
Is there a problem? Just routine checks, the officer replied. They led her into a small room. Another female officer joined them. Her bags were brought in. The officers cut them open and brought out the plastic-wrapped white powder. Amina gasped. That's not mine. That's not mine. Are you saying you didn't pack this luggage yourself? One officer asked. No, I mean yes, I packed it, but, she stuttered, my boyfriend gave me the bags. He's supposed to be here. Your boyfriend's name? Raymond? Full name? I don't know his full name, but he booked the flight. We were traveling together. The officers exchanged looks. There's no Raymond on the passenger list traveling with you, one of them said. These bags are all checked under your name. You have been found with illegal drugs and are under arrest. Amina's head spun. No, he's using me. He told me it was safe. I didn't know. They didn't listen. She was handcuffed and detained. Hours later, a call was made to Zuri. She came rushing to the airport thinking Amina was in trouble with immigration. But when she walked into the holding room and saw Amina in handcuffs with swollen red eyes, she stopped cold. What happened? Zuri asked the officer. She was caught with illegal drugs. She claimed someone named Raymond gave her the bags. Zuri turned slowly to look at Amina. You did this to yourself, she said coldly. After everything we've been through, after I warned you, after I stood by you, you still went back to this life. Amina fell to her knees. Zuri, please. I didn't know. I swear. I thought he loved me. Please help me. Help me get a lawyer. Please. I don't want to go to prison. Zuri shook her head. No. Amina. I can't help you anymore. I've done my part. You chose this path. I will not raise Jason in the shadow of your mistakes. I will raise him with love and care. But you're on your own now. Zuri, please. Amina wailed, reaching out. But Zuri stepped back. I won't be visiting. Not anymore, Zuri said and walked away. Amina broke down completely. Her cries echoed through the room as the officers led her away. The reality hit her like cold water. Raymond was a ghost. No full name, no real contact. The name, the love, the lifestyle, everything was a setup. He had used her as a mule. And now she would face the consequences alone. Her case moved quickly. Without evidence to trace Raymond and with the drugs in her possession under her name, the court ruled against her. She was sentenced to several years in prison. From her cold prison cell, Amina thought of Jason, his little fingers, his innocent laughter, and how he wouldn't even remember the last time she hugged him. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered to herself, I was just trying to give him a better life. But now the life she dreamt of was gone, and all she had left was regret.